Welcome to another episode of Rise, Grind, Repeat. I'm Dustin Trout, and today we talk to Melissa Anaya from Jamm 7. She's another agency here in the Phoenix Valley. She does a lot of social media and specifically in the restaurant industry. So she's doing a lot of social media for restaurants and helping them with their overall strategy when it comes to how they are getting their brand out on social media and just driving overall foot traffic and getting table reservations. So really get into how she started all this, where she plans to take it, and we get into how we could possibly collaborate with each other. So lots of good information if you're in the restaurant industry. So appreciate you tuning in. Let's hop right in.
I got into this, so my agency is Jamm 7 Media, and I've pretty much transformed it over the last couple of years. It didn't start out that way as a social media marketing agency for food-related businesses up until like 6 months ago.
Oh, wow.
I had a partner, though. And I have a great partner. I still consider him my partner, even though he signed over the business to me. He's in radio. He's a radio guy. And he's into sports. So when we first started our agency 4 years ago, we were doing everything. We didn't even know what we wanted. He had the sports end. I had the field marketing side because I managed all of NOS energy drink.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, for Arizona.
That's cool. Yeah.
I dealt with gamers, DJs.
Yeah.
I had the sickest ride, you guys. Like, no.
Does it blow the Red Bull thing, the whatever they have?
It squashed the Red Bull car. No. This thing was matte black, pretty much a Tahoe extended.
That's
with
cool.
Orange rims, the Phoenix skyline going across it in a huge NOS drink. And our inventory was huge, so we would just walk around giving this stuff to everyone, getting stuff for free
cool.
everywhere.
That is cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So I started off with that, and then we met because we marketed the UFC. So he was like one of the number one radio shows here in Arizona, and then we met, and we kind of did what I think people do sometimes.
Take what you're good at, bring them together and see what we can do together.
And then we actually got together in life. And then one of the very first gigs that we got was a huge contract. I'm still shocked to this day. I feel we got Anheuser-Busch.
Wow.
We ran the entire state of Arizona for Goose Island.
Wow, that's cool. Good beer, too.
Yeah. Great beer.
Did you get paid in beer? Or bonuses, at least?
We drink the inventory sometimes, which could have gotten us in trouble. No. And then from there we're like, let's run a field marketing team. And then what we didn't realize is that when you work in alcohol, is that the big companies, you have to front that money. They don't pay you until 30, 60, 90 net. So we were borrowing. We were pulling out loans. I couldn't sleep at night sometimes because our brand ambassadors were younger, and that was how they paid their bills. And they weren't used to 30, 60, 90, and we couldn't front that. So, I had like nightmares, like going to bed, that these kids couldn't pay their bills. And then,
it's insane, though. A net 90, that's, a
90.
whole quarter before you get paid. That's,
hence why I was like sick.
Cash flow.
Yeah. So then we kind of were like, let's get out of this. We're done with this part. And then we got into MMA, and I kind of was like figuring out that I didn't like MMA, and I don't think that he knew that.
Yeah.
So one day he was like, well, what do you mean you don't want to do this anymore? And I was like, well, I built a website at the UFC fights. like I'm kind of a waste of a press pass. And he kind of looked at me, he goes, oh my God, you did.
That's awesome. You are very much a go-do-it-yourselfer, that's for sure. Yeah.
And then, like, a year ago, I was like, you know what? I've been in the industry all my life. All of our clients are slowly turning into food, even Goose, food and beverage, food festivals. It always was that way. And I've been a bartender my entire life, and I worked my way up, and I was in marketing, and I managed the bar, and I helped with the owners. Then I got into marketing, and then I kind of just pulled all of that together and said, I need to pick a lane and figure out what I like to do. And so it was social media, and I was always really good at it, the front end stuff. Like the front end engagement, all the organic, I was always really good at that. And then I said, okay, well, I don't want to take the time to learn the back end. So I found a guru. She works for Facebook, and I paid her big money to teach me really fast the back end of Facebook. And I learned it. I took off work for like a month and I learned it. And, and then I started being able to charge my clients bigger dollars.
Yeah. And so whenever you mean the front end, is that the organic, just posting for them, and then the back end is the actual Facebook ads and where your what placements you're
all that conversions.
How fun has that been?
You know what? I kind of geek out on the back end because I think that's my like analytical side, and like I'm very creative and I have this kind of like girly like, you know, front image on the front, but on the back end I'm geeking out on those bids coming in. Like the cost per click, and I'm like, fuck, like 30 cents. And I'm like, why is that one not 5 cents?
See, and that's what I love too, because it's with the ads, it takes the analytical perspective into it, and it's even more so. It's when people see something sponsored, it's almost like you're not going to get me. So it's a bit more challenging than just organic posting, and so the creative side has to come out a bit more, and that's what. Love having this is we can produce the creative, and then by looking at the analytics we can see what creative is working better, not so much just from impressions, CPM, and cost per clicks, but also, you know, this creative might be a more expensive cost per click, but we find out they're staying on the website 3 minutes longer than here, and so I love the analytics side, and it's everyone, I don't know, I feel like organic is put on such a pedestal. It's always like, oh, I organically grew, but it takes time to build that, where the paid side, it's instant, and that's the quickest way to grow and scale a company is you can pay to put stuff in front of people's face. And I mean, sure, your organic is going to get you more conversion, stronger conversion rate, but how long is it going to take you to reach 10,000 people as opposed to, cool, here's a budget, now we're going to reach 10,000 people today. Done.
Yep, I've seen that happen. And you guys have like a whole nother element too. I mean, we just focus solely at this point and we're just narrowing it down and just picking what we're good at. We literally hand off everything else, the Google, and we know that that's part of it, but we just stay in our lane right now, and we're just solely social media marketing, and that's what we're kind of banking off of.
I know that's good, because as you master that, you can then charge more, especially if you're in a niche. And real quick, what do you say, niche or niche?
You know what's funny is that I was telling someone, I go, it's niche or niche, and she goes, I took French, it's actually niche, and I was like,
it's been a running debate in here. There's been some people that say niche and some.
But I feel okay. So I don't know if you guys feel this way, and this is the only reason. I feel like a tool when I say niche.
That's niche.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I feel like it's like. Plus, I need my like fancy glass of wine as I say that.
And I'm a girl. I'm a chick. I should be like niche. And I don't. It's weird. It's weird. It's
that's
a weird
funny.
thing.
But yeah, I mean, you guys found your lane, and that's. I mean, once you know that, then you're not spread too thin to a sense, and then you can just provide more value to your clients. What made you choose, or I guess how did the food side choose you?
Food?
Was it like a new client and then it just kind of went that way, or was it an interest of yours? And
no, honestly, I think it was more of like deep soul searching for me. I never went to college, so I always struggled and had like a sort of a complex that if you went to college, like I didn't have a right being in that field or that industry. And so since I was 19, I had been a bartender, started off as a server, then obviously moved up to a bartender, and then that had kind of always been like my industry and what I knew really, really well. And I kept getting restaurant clients, and I kept kind of just following that field somehow, and everything else kind of bored me. Like I knew it's such, you know, I had an act for serving, I had an act for bartending, I had an act for presentation. So then I was creative, and I took like the photographs and what I did, and I kind of knew what to look for. So the front end became almost like simple to me and
too easy, not challenging.
Not challenging like at all, and knowing what people want and what they're looking for, because I've waited on them and I've served them, and I know and I've talked to them for, you know, over 20 years.
Yep.
So it's kind of like I knew what to place there, and see. And then once I kind of found out that it was more than just that, and I got excited about the back end of social media, I kind of just added that in. And then I just was like, well, I hate sports. Okay, so I have kept 2 sports clients. They're great clients, so I can't knock them, and you will see them on my social media. But they're the ones that I kept because they're great clients and they're great people to work with. But other than that, even people like, I just landed a huge festival that's coming, and like they're doing a fast 3-week campaign. And we're pushing it out very fast. And they're like, oh, we love you so much. We got a client for you. He has a shoe business. And I was like, and it's hard for me because I do. And I'm like, oh, God, that'd be like such great money.
Yep.
And, you always tell yourself, I could use it for this camera, or I could use it to hire another person. Yeah. And I just, I take a deep breath and I go, stay in your lane. And I go, I'm sorry. I'm only working with food related businesses, because I'll find myself just trickling out and doing that.
You look at how much you can make, but you forget about how much it costs you because your passion isn't there, which then takes time from where your passion is, which you can provide more value.
Yeah.
Which then, if you do that and have the enthusiasm and everything like that, you can then upsell someone else that can allow you to buy those 3-4 cameras.
You just put a delay on it is all you do. You just push your time.
It's funny. I just saw something that something that great leaders can do is delay happiness a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what you just said is knowing that, I'm going to delay this a little bit, knowing that I'm going to do something else that's going to allow me to do it more. And it
just pushes you back over and over. And I've done it. I've done it for 4 years. I've watched the cycle, and it's just, that stupid insanity, but it's such a common quote, but I remind myself of that all the time. And I saw myself for 4 years doing that, and I'm excited about what I'm doing, and I want to grow that avenue. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to extend. If there's an avenue there, I can extend and try new things and go over the place, as long as it has to do with food.
What's been the most crazy food that you've been able to experience while working? Because I'm sure that whenever you go into meetings, you get to try some foods. And...
I do, and that's been the really tough part, is that I've actually moved, and I think that you guys know this, and I mean, by doing a podcast, is that your personal brands are growing much more than an agency side. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of been the new way that I've taken what I've been doing. And I've realized that no one wants to like a Jamm 7 agency side. They're not going to be like, oh, I really feel it, And of course, it's all in your content. So I'm sure a lot of people will say, well, it depends on your content.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. So, but your personal brand and what you have to say is so much more. And I really do keep myself off of my agency side. And I know a lot of people build themselves on their agency sides, but I started all of a sudden noticing my personal brand kind of growing. Mm-hmm. So I decided to kind of launch a new avenue with that and shoot for my personal brand, and then sell on my agency side on the back end is what I've been doing. Yep. So I just started doing videos, and that's kind of been brand new to what I'm doing. I'm launching Eat Drink AZ in a couple of months, and I'm pretty much going to be going around tasting and trying and doing all these things.
That's cool.
Yeah. And
so are you going to be doing blogs about it, or
No blogs, no writing. So just, it's all video. I want it. Nice. Video's the way of the future. I want to be able to turn the video into audio so that if people want to hear it in their car or whatever they want to do, but as long as it's video and audio and it all goes together on my site and streams everywhere else, I'm cool with that.
And that's the beauty about you getting in and learning the tools and everything, because it's as you film, that's exactly what you can do. You can literally just take the audio, rip it, and boom, now you have your podcast. And it's amazing how many people just go, all right, we're gonna set up time to film, now we're gonna set up time to podcast. And it's you could literally just, I mean, if you're not too perfectionist, I mean, you could even run the audio through YouTube, where they do the subtitles and everything, and then you can rip the subtitles, and now you have a blog. Part. So now you have all 3 forms of
the closed captioning, right? I was and Facebook offers that now, and I was like, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, there's I think it's Rev 44 or something like that, but they charge I want to say it's 30 cents a minute to do it, and it's not a machine that does it. They have a team that actually does it, and it's 99.99% accurate. But
is it better than Siri? when you're voice texting, you're like, I would like to find the next taco shop.
Yeah.
You would like to find Waco? Waco, Mexico?
Yeah.
No.
I've been trying to use voice a bit more, but yeah, I keep running into that. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, it's safer for driving, and you find yourself, you're like, that's not what I was typing, and you're like trying to like fix it. It's so awful. You're like, dang it. But okay, so on your phone, you guys use this, and I never use this. So the actual record button, have you guys done that versus just audio and sending your, versus doing Siri, but sending your just audio for people to play and listen to?
I've done it a little bit.
Yeah. I just started doing that, and people are kind of like, "Oh, I didn't like know to push play," but I heard your whole message as if it was there.
Okay, so like an audio text.
Yes, an audio text. So, which is really nice because
I
now
like
kind
that
of
better.
like screw
plus,
Siri.
I mean, just similar to email and stuff. I mean, how much is taken out of context from what you actually mean, just because you don't have tone, you don't have all that, and like, you know what I mean? I mean, there's been so many times where it's like I try and give praise or something, but it comes across like, oh, well, I was like, no, I didn't mean it that way. I meant like, where if you'd have just heard my voice, it would have meant that much more.
Or opposite. One time I have, and they were like, was that meant to? And I was like, oh, no, you just read it wrong. No, I really was a dick.
Thanks for the comment. No, that's a backhand.
So, yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
That's funny. With the new video series, do you have a particular type of food or type of restaurant, or is it just any restaurant, more upscale, more?
You know, I've worked, so I would have to say that my structure has changed on that. Before, I used to take anyone, and then what I realized is that we were packing events with ads. Okay, and we would fill them, and they would become one-time customers because the service was so bad and the food was so bad, and so it, you know, and I had a tough time because I was like, okay, my ads are successful and I'm doing my job, and a lot of people out there work with, you know, they don't know who they pick. They just take clients and it doesn't matter.
Yep.
They just do their job, and we did a good job, and here's your analytics, and let us just swipe your card. But I think my food, my server and my bartender side and hospitality side kind of kicked in because it took a little hit on my ego because I was like, oh God, why can't they just like fix the kitchen? And you know, I'm like, fix the dang kitchen times. Like, obviously your cook sucks. Like, can the dude. Like, you know, get a new GM in here. He's a tool. Like, he's ruining your restaurant.
Yeah.
So now I will go through them and I'll look to see the reviews. They have to at least be at like the 3.8 marker because that could just be because they're not marketing right. I also give them a little bit of advice. I don't charge for it. I kind of just say, hey, I've noticed that you could do this, or your portions are off. And I kind of help guide them. So they really love that part because I also know the inside scoop too as well. So no, I work with anyone as long as they have a good reputation. They're great. It doesn't matter where they're at. I have a great little Scottsdale bar in Old Town. They've been around since 1981. It's called Carson's. I mean, and it's hidden, and
Carson's?
it is.
I haven't even heard that.
It is great. They get 5 stars on everything. You wouldn't know they're there. They're tiny, old school booths or old school tables. If you walked in, you may go,
sketchy.
Yeah. But the food is great. The owners are amazing. The bartenders, 5 stars all the way across, and greatest people ever. So that's all that they have to offer. And honestly, it's anything food and drink related, and that's pretty much anything. So I kept my... Where do you serve food and drinks? Well, everywhere. So I market it.
I love that you mentioned the difficulty of, sure, we can deliver leads, we can deliver you this, but in terms, like, bringing new customers, but in terms of the sustainability, that's the biggest struggle that once I left full-time and went into this, I was like, oh, well, we can do all this, but it's like, sure, we can deliver those, but then it's like, well, your salespeople aren't reaching back or missing calls, and it's like there's almost so much more opportunity on the business consulting side than just the marketing, because the two go kind of hand in hand. Because it's even then, like, there's companies that I've worked with where using like call tracking where it records the calls, and it's even like, yeah, we're driving all these calls, well, we're not seeing any sales, and you start listening, it's like, well, listen to how they're talking to the customer. Would you want to buy?
Then they come back at you.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, even like, well, the prospect asked this question, you guys do this to bring value, but it just went unmet. And it's almost like there's so much more opportunity after the marketing side, and that's where I'm big on the sustainability side. It's, do you ever watch bar rescue.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So he was just on, have you ever heard of Gary Vee?
Oh, yeah.
So John Taffer was on an episode, and they were talking about the sustainability where it takes the first 3 visits, they only have a 20% chance of coming back. Once you get them there the 4th time, then there's an 80% chance of them coming back. And so it's like everyone pushes to get there the first time, but then stop on 2 and 3 and the 4. When it's like, what are you doing there? It's the hardest. The hardest customer to get is the brand new one. The cheapest thing to do is sustain them, and it's like, how are you just bringing them value, and what are you doing to track them? And everyone's chasing that new customer, which is the most expensive. And it's
exactly.
Yeah.
And I have a perfect example to that, and it's actually not food related on this one, but we're doing a campaign right now, and it's all on women. So we've pretty much transformed the brand, because there were no girls on there, even though there's girls were at the training facility. So we brought in an influencer. We're paying for influential marketing. Our campaigns are all geared towards women. The social media has changed towards women. So we're starting to get these leads that are coming in. And I went and I read one the other day, and one of the managers had responded back, and it was a girl, and she was like, I'm really interested in your classes. And it was like, we're a full service MMA gym, and we have a weight room. And I was like, dead.
Thanks for the canned response. You just lost their interest. They'll never come in. And it's like, that's someone raising their hand saying, I want to come in, and you literally just shut the door on them.
I handed it to you on a silver platter.
So what are some of the conversations that you have to try and circumvent that, to where it's like, hey, how can we work together to, once these leads are here, what else can I do to help make sure that, one, the communication, the comm stream is in line with what gets them in the door and spending money? Well,
that one, I kind of, I reached out, and, and I think about it too, because I'm like, am I overstepping like my boundaries?
Yeah.
Are they going to be like, okay, offended?
Yeah.
Is my client going to be absolutely offended and tell me to stay in my lane? I don't know that, but I also don't know. I also think that if I'm handing them the lead and they're dropping it, then I also, A, don't want that to come back on me, first and foremost. B, I want them to succeed overall and help them. And I'd rather open my mouth, because honestly, your brand is probably a little bit of who you are.
Yep.
So on my end, I'm thinking, okay, well, I probably would tell anyone how I feel. So I'm going to tell them, I'm going to go ahead and take that leap of faith, and I'm going to go for it. But I also think that I know how to really work people really well. So I tell them, hey, for future, not for now.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you ruined that one, dude. You dropped it down the drain.
Yep.
But for future, as a woman, so I also use like an example as a woman. I think that, we can use something a little bit more inviting. Let's call them by their first name. Let's talk to them about the other features that are not MMA related. And then I'll always joke around too with my clients, because that's kind of my personality. I was like, and then at the end I put, guys, act like you're dating, finesse. You want to take this girl home.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it, because instantly the communication would change.
Yeah.
You'd actually have some empathy and care, and
And then they laughed at it, and they were like, great point. They kind of like male related, because I work with a lot of male clients, and I've always had a lot of males in my life, so I don't take anything offensive at all. I've heard everything working in a bar. From serving drunk men to having owners that drink their inventory, to everything. So I'm just not offended by like anything that a guy has to say. So I kind of pitch it back, and I think that my clients kind of know that I kind of have that like, that vocabulary.
Yeah. No, I mean, everything you're saying, it sounds like growing up working in the bar industry has taught you or instilled all the characteristics that lead to being successful in this, because you're able to not just show what they did wrong, but have that colorful communication and helping, and even on the social media side, you just know how to communicate. You're a good communicator, and that's essentially what it comes down to, is how are we communicating digitally? And
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that people just want honesty. And I think that's like my biggest thing that I've learned, is that they want to hear you as the professional. And if they're not going to get it from you, then who's it going to be?
And I mean, they came to you for a reason.
Exactly.
If you're not going to do it, what are you doing?
Yeah. And you guys have met with clients, right, where they bring you in, and then you sit with them, and it's like, well, no, we tried that. Well, and then they shut you down, and they shut you down, and they shut you down, and they shut you down. So and I think that you kind of have a good sense when you're doing that consultation on who you can work with. You're like, oh, this is gonna go real bad.
Yep. Yeah. I love the we've already done that because then I get into cool. How was it executed? What was your audiences or what are your personas? What did you say to them? Where did you land them? What did that communication look like once they? It's like it. There's so many different ways to do it, and it all is almost similar, but there could be tiny little changes just in what you say communication wise, or just a little feature on Google search or however you optimize that can change everything. Literally, you can have the same ads and everything, but just by changing the placements, maybe you eliminate the marketplace and show up only on a feed there's so many different things or variables that could be changed that could dramatically change the performance of an entire campaign. So I always love well, we've already done that. Cool. Well, what did you do and how did you execute? Because then it's always like, I don't know, or we did this, or we had 7 different audiences, but then had one message talking to all of them. And it's like, well, in real life, wouldn't you talk to them a little bit different than you talk to them? Yeah. Well, let's create ads that are a little bit different and actually communicate and actually speak to those audiences and their demographic, their interests, and everything like that. And
you gotta paint a picture for them.
Exactly.
They don't understand. Sometimes do you guys find yourselves where you're like getting into it and the vocabulary and they're like, like you feel like they know what you're talking about and and then you realize that they don't and you gotta like take it down. Like how do you guys, because you guys do a lot with Google and on the back end of websites and a lot more, I think, AI and different stuff than what I do, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of full service. I mean, it's deal with websites, deal with banner ad creation, flyer designs, a little bit of everything, but using analytics to see how it all connects together. They came in through a social ad and then later did this search, and then by communicating and tying the two together, we see the customer journey and all that. And so it's kind of tying everything together. But to your point, and we're still trying to figure it out, the best way to illustrate everything is
right.
I mean, because especially once you start getting into marketing funnels and like, how are you talking to a first time user that's never been to the site as opposed to someone that's been to your menu, looked at your specials? Like, how are you talking to these two people differently? And once you start getting into that, it's like, whoa, like this is too much almost. And so it's like I think visuals are the best way to do it, but how do you do that without dumping 20 hours into a PowerPoint presentation that might get a no, or they might still not understand it? And so we're always trying. What's the one thing that you used? Funnel.io, I think.
Something like that, yeah. Where you basically can kind of map out a funnel and show people.
Ooh.
Like, we show the ads on Facebook, then they click to the website, and then we can show the ads on Google, and basically show like the journey and all the different avenues you have to get them to that conversion.
Yeah.
And so I like that, just to try to talk to anyone about it. Like, well, we're gonna get them here first, and then hopefully they'll convert. If they don't, we can show them ads here. If that still doesn't work, we have this, this, and this, and
that's what a lot of it is. It's like we start here on this channel. If they click, they go here. If they convert, awesome. We exclude them from everything else and message a different way. If they don't convert, then and it's a lot of if-thens, and if they do this, then they go here, and but even then, it's once you start adding in, because I mean, we help with all the channels, so like YouTube, Facebook, Google, and so once you start talking about the different channels, the different messaging within the channels, all of a sudden it's like...
Well, even when you start going, I feel like, into creating the different audiences, people, for the most part, understand, like, yeah, that makes sense, but when you start getting into details, they're like, it makes sense, but I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Well, or have you ever, like, finished, like, you, like, wrap up, and I mean, you're just like, this one was good, you know, and, like, you're real excited, and you look at them, and they're kind of like a deer in headlights, and you realize you're like, I got myself excited, and I don't think they, like, you expect them to just be like, let me sign the check, you know, like, I got them, like, this was the best presentation, and then they're kind of just like, so how do we get going?
What was your name again? And then on the other end, you do one, you sit down and go, that was the worst thing ever. All right, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it.
Because we're always real excited about what we do, because we understand it, and we can see the power and the potential if they would just trust in us and just jump on board and be like, let's do anything you want, you know, and you're like, yes.
Yeah. I think, I mean, even outside of the visuals, it's the kind of the storytelling and be like, have you ever searched for something and then saw that follow you? We can do that, but we can decide to follow you on just news articles or sports articles. And then it's, if we know we're only going to follow you on sports, let's produce creative that might have that, like, sports imagery or something that let's look at the context where they are, how they've...
Yeah, or even just when you're talking to a person, like, relating it to them, because I know we talked about it a lot, like, just do, like, page time, like, how long it takes to load. Like, when I'm talking to people, they're like, yeah, it takes 6 seconds, and, I mean, when you think about it, like, that's not much time at all, but then, like, it's like, if you're looking at something and you click on it and you're waiting for it to load, if you count out 6 seconds, would you wait that time?
No.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Then when you relate to them, I think that helps a ton. Just like, well, I'd never wait that long.
Never.
Yeah. I mean, it's there's been times where, the targeting is on point. I mean, we're getting great CTR. Everything looks good, but then we're not getting any sales, and then you look, and it's like, well, your page takes 10 seconds to load, and it's, then that's a whole nother... thing, because it's like, is it the website, is it your hosting, or then it's a whole different beast. But it's whenever you tell someone 6-7 seconds, oh, that's nothing, well, here, pull your phone out, and then do it, it's like, wow, that's a long time to wait. And so
go into 3G and see how long.
Right?
Remember that? Well, because Google, their like magic number is 3 seconds, and it's every second above 3, your conversion rate tanks by 60%. I mean, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. I remember the very first website I built. I was like, why is this thing just like going? And I have like nothing. This is like has nothing on it. And then I don't remember who it was. They're like, well, let me take a look. And they're like, that's because your logo's like the size of a billboard.
100 megabyte logo. And,
it pretty much was.
I mean, that's the biggest issue is image sizes. Most people, I mean, do a great job on the design, the looks, and the content, but then just throw all the images up there, and it's like, your whole page is like a gig in size, and
yep. All the crazy little stuff that you don't realize when you're getting into it, and that's why I love doing that. Like I pass off my websites now, but I understand how they work. So
that's key.
I always like knowing, and so like when I'm doing my videos and I'm learning Adobe Premiere, and my boyfriend always tells me, get yourself out of that. Get yourself out of the weeds. Stop doing that stuff. And I'm like, but it's my personality to know. I'm fine with passing things off, but I want to know enough. I want to, when I hire someone, I want to know that I've hired the right person because I understand it. Anyone can pitch a good game. And that's probably the biggest thing. And I want to be like, well, let me see what you got.
Yeah. No, I think that's smart. It's knowing that fine line on, okay, I've spent 60 hours on this. Now I know enough to be able to hire someone and not spending constant time on it, but also not spending no time on it and then just hiring anyone.
Like walking through the weeds versus staying in them.
Just
take a walk through.
Right?
That's a great way to put it. Walk through the weeds to get to the pasture.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the amount of clients that I take on, and it's very rare. Restaurants are huge, notorious for having, well, we had someone running our social media. Oh, you did? Who was it? Well, it was our bartender. She had some extra time. Oh, cool. She was your morning bartender, so she was your worst bartender. So that means she didn't make enough money. That's why she had an old Galaxy. So your pictures are crap now.
Yeah. Yep.
So like, and that's just how my mind thinks. And I'm like, okay, morning bartender, not making a lot of money. Her phone's crappy. It's not like, and I'm like, I can clearly see that. And they're like, oh, well, we had someone doing our ads. And I'm like, cool, well, let me get into your ads manager.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were boosting in the front end.
Yep.
Targeting and wasting, you're throwing it away. Well, what's the difference? And then that's where I'm like,
yep.
Well.
Yeah, let me tell you, you're paying for 8 spots, 3 different types of English. People that have left the area for some odd reason.
Yep. It's almost fun to audit what others have done. And it's like, what were you thinking? And only because it helps not to show like what's been done wrong, but it's like, if you're okay with how things have been done this way, look at all the opportunity that I found, and we can just make these adjustments. Think of how much better things would be, and wouldn't it be nice to just bring more revenue because we just did these. But I love what you brought up. The people will just hire someone to do it, just to post, but you're not hiring someone to just post. It's the strategy behind it. What are the words that are with the image? What is the imagery that we're using? What are we trying to? It's the strategy that people should be paying for, when most people think they're only paying to, I'm paying just to post images, and that's
to show up. That's it.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Well, yeah, and I do not have a hard time telling them, and I'm like, we tried, and I'm like, well, you don't do a good job for a reason.
Yeah.
And I look at them, and they're kind of like, well, and I say this, but it's kind of my saying. I go, and it's for a reason. You run a restaurant, or you'd be a social media marketing agency.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, well, and I'm like, yes. And they're like, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and they kind of, and I'm like,
clicks.
you're an owner for a reason, because you have great owner qualities. You can pass it along. You know how to delegate, you know how to manage people. You know, you're a great GM for a certain reason. You're a great bartender for a certain reason. That's your field.
Yeah.
That's what you do best. So there's when they're bringing you in, and then they're like, well, we've done this, and this. Well, you're gonna suck. You're gonna fail because that's not what you do.
Yeah.
And your job, honestly, is to test. You may whip through us. My goal is that you don't, and we do a good enough job. But we may not be the right fit for you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. No, and that's you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's especially when people start hiring like their niece or nephew just because they're
niece
young.
and the nephew are the greatest.
Yeah. Well, they're young. They're on social media all day. Again, it goes back to why are we posting this? Who are we trying to reach? What are we trying to do? It's the strategy behind it. And then using the analytics to say, this type of image does way better than this. Let's figure out how to do more of this. And it's, yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if this is, you guys can kind of tell me, since you guys are a little bit different than what I do, but I always feel like people that are not on top of technology and social media and websites, they're about 5 years behind. Like, I feel like now we can go to almost any company and go, their website's on point. They have a great website.
Yeah.
But 5 years ago, it was let's build you a great website. Let's get you. And now it's like almost every time I look at their stuff, I kind of do an analysis on it, and I'm like, cool, their website's on point, great.
Yeah.
But now I'm hearing, well, our social media, we know we need to do it, but they're 5 years behind.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, I got to get ahead of the time, but my clients are 5 years behind of even having just a decent looking Facebook and a logo on their profile. And so I'm like, there's a lot of business out there.
Yep. Oh yeah. There's a ton, and even then, the if you have a good website, it's and even if you are doing Facebook ads and all that, I think a big question that keeps coming up now is like, yeah, we're doing all this, but what does it mean for our business? And this is why I love the analytics side, and I loved what you said about we don't just deliver a report and just say we're doing our job, but you care about what happens after the fact. And that's what I'm huge on and want to do, is like, we have all these cool ways to target. We can produce creative a lot cheaper than what it used to be. Now let's get it out there, but more importantly, how is this impacting your bottom line? Is this driving foot traffic? Is it? And that's what I absolutely love. And that's where I think there's a ton of opportunity, as more and more are catching up with the time, still very, very behind. And I think businesses just move slow, but don't see the value in social media, which is insane to me, because like, everyone talks about it's hard to find business, it's hard to advertise, when literally posting on Instagram, even if it is just organically, doing it every day is so much more impactful than probably 40% of the different activities that you think are important. Because it's like, you can literally gain followers from people who didn't even know who you are just by posting every day. Now, if you amplify it by getting someone like you in there that knows what images and knows what text, you can just grow that following 10x, which then... I mean, people aren't going to follow, and especially if it's food, not go in. I mean, you're going to spark people's interest. And even if it is just organically, you start there, but once you start seeing the impacts, then it's like, well, what happens if we were able to just run some Facebook ads or Instagram ads and reach 30 times the amount of people in one day? And if in order to start a business 15 years ago, you had to have money for billboards, newspaper, Goosebumps.
menus, you had to do TV, radio, you had to have a real marketing budget. If we had their marketing budget, could you imagine what type of was like I just want one company that like I work with to go, we have $10,000 a month that we spend on marketing, and that's our budget for the year. Because that's what you used to have.
Yeah.
There were no ands, ifs, or buts about it.
Yep.
If you didn't get a main spot on the road because you needed that that drive-by traffic and that foot traffic, then you better believe you were spending at least $10,000 on mass media and top of mind awareness.
But even then, going back to the analytics, I feel that people don't see the value in all the ads and everything when it's like if you're able to tie all the dots, it's amazing the ROI that it actually drives. But too many people focus on, especially in the food industry. I worked with a previous agency with PF Chang's. I mean, they were spending a good $50,000-$60,000 a month just on like display banner ad stuff. But it's like the retargeting. It's we're doing online orders, and it's like, well, our average online order is $50, but it's costing us $70 to get that. They shoot in the foot. But when you start looking at it, it's like, do people only come once? No. Okay, so what's the lifetime value of your customer? And that's the biggest thing that's hard to wrap people's minds around, is they just see I spent 60 to make 50. That's negative ROI. Cool. Going back to, what are you doing to get them in the second, third, fourth time? Each time it gets cheaper and cheaper until you don't have to spend any money to get them in. You do that to 100 people, 1,000 people every month over the course of the year. It's amazing the year-over-year trends that you see.
How are you keeping track of them? I always tell my clients, I'll bring them in for you. That's not a problem, because honestly, the only in my industry that I work with, just food-related businesses, and I explain to them that we're bidding. I go, but we're bidding in the same industry. I go, so you're not competing with doctors and chiropractors out there. So I can definitely get your cost per click down really low. I go, you're competing with like the big boys like Darden and B-Dubs and maybe some of the local Fox concepts and hospitality and Square One and those guys. I go, but other than that, I go, I watch them. They don't really do a lot of ads. I go, so anytime I lock on, and most restaurants don't use agencies. So when I lock on with them, we're crushing like the ad scene. It's amazing. And I go, but I'm going to bring them to you and I'm going to collect that data for you. But how are you keeping them? I go, you may be here for 5 years. I go, but look at the longevity of your restaurant and your business. I go, you need to keep all of that data. You need to, at one point when you're having a bad summer, you need to take that and be able to blast that. How are you collecting their phone numbers, their emails? Because we've brought them to you. You need to hold on to them like they're gold, because you got to keep that and keep marketing to those people and continuously build and build if you really want your restaurant. And how many restaurants are really standing after 10 years? I mean,
how many businesses are standing?
They look great for 5 years. They really do. Yeah. But honestly, long term, they are not
Once people start getting tired of it, there's no innovation.
Someone new will come in and wipe you out because it's a new concept, and we all want to go check it out, and we'll go there, we'll flock to it, and then we'll find somewhere new. Yep. So you need to continuously market, because I know that when you guys drive by in your neighborhood, I guarantee there's a restaurant that you pass by every day. You pass by it and you go, I've been meaning to try that place, but you never do because you don't know what it looks like inside.
Don't have a why.
You don't know what their food is, and you don't know what their drinks are, and you don't know what their specials are. But if you're sitting in your home and I can geo-fence that and send it to you, then I can continuously market to you and then get you inside to collect real data. And that's my goal.
It's amazing how much foot traffic can be driven if you were just to launch a 2 to 5 mile radius around your restaurant and just say, we're here. Look at our menu. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you have to have a reason why you want to go in. It's like, I've been meaning to. But once you give someone a reason why, it's start looking at social and what different things they like and all that, and just start building the persona, but then just show them, this is what we have. This is what it looks like. And all of a sudden you start sparking interest and I want to.
You do. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yep.
There's so many restaurants, like just everywhere.
Everywhere.
That you can just go for a drive in like a small 3 mile
yeah
route, and you'll find all these tiny places that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
It's like, it looks cool, but you'll forget about it.
Yeah. Right. And I don't know if you guys deal with this on your end when you guys are doing banner ads, but our ads in social media, and I just dealt with this with a client, and I go, they're doing a huge coffee push right now and they have a great promotion going, but they go, well, I go, what food item would you like to, promote? And they go, well, all of it.
I bet.
Well, I go, okay, that sounds great. I go, we're going to need about $100 per item. And they're like, you want $100 ad spend per item? And I said, yes. And then they're like, well, why? And I go, every item is, when you're running across your newsfeed, if I send a salad across your newsfeed and you're a dude and you hate salads, you're not going to click on it. I just wasted my ad spend on you. I need to specifically target market that specific item. I have to come up with the amazing creative. The content has to be awesome, and then my ad and who I'm targeting has to be specifically detailed. It's a science, so that you click on it and I make sure that that's a successful ad, so that next time we have something to compare it to. It's science. It's just not throw a burger out there and a vegan's gonna go across it and be like, why am I getting a burger? I don't even eat meat.
And then you start getting negative comments on why you target me. I'm vegan.
And then they're like, this ad's inappropriate.
Yep. Yeah.
So it just doesn't work that way. The reason why your ads are also failing is you're boosting them through the front end, you're sending them to everyone and anyone, and your specific item isn't targeted to the people that eat that item.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
And Facebook has made it so easy, and Instagram, that we've liked and commented on so many things because it's who we are, that they've gone, okay, so you like barbecue, you've obviously liked all these barbecue restaurants, you're from the South, so I can specifically target that person and send that item to them, and now they're going to come in for that barbecue sandwich, and now I can match it to their POS system for the next 3 months because we campaign it.
I feel the hardest thing is just getting the content to do it. It's like you get the buy-in, but it's all right, well, now I need some images, or I need this written, and then also, I don't have time to do that. And so it's also it's creating a partnership. It's not just you're hiring us to do it. We're a partnership in how we can grow together. Yeah. And so you need buy-in from the ownership side or the client side to actually do things that help progress the process along.
See, I've gotten smart with that process. I make them, so whatever my cost is, I can tell them that it's $100 more, or they can take $100 off in order for people to go in and shoot the content, and it gets comped, but they have the content. So we need the content, so you can either give it to us in a spend and a comp bill every month, so we continuously get new, and I can be like, hey, go in and get the new burger of the month, please. Here's, $20, go get a drink, make sure you can drive home. I like Friday campaigns. We're going to need a happy hour campaign, a lot of drinking. So that's what we do in order, and they're usually happy and they're fine with that. And what we find versus them paying, and what they don't realize is if I ask them for a $500 photography shoot and video shoot, they're kind of like, well, we're already paying you. Yeah. So then what I do is I just say every month, and it's fresh content. Yeah. Every single month.
Yeah, and that's what trying to think through is packaging things together, so it's not like you're nickel and diming me for all these different things, but it's all these different things need to come together that help. Yeah.
But I had to learn that, though, because before I was like, I don't want to charge you more, so go ahead and shoot the photos. And then my ads failed because you have a crappy old phone.
Using a phone
and you said you were a videographer in your past.
Yep.
And for some reason, I trusted you, even though I looked at your social media.
Never said a good one.
So those are all the little things that you learn along the way.
Yeah, you mentioned something earlier about you get to year like number 5 and you're having a slow summer. What are you doing to reach those people? And basically what you're hitting on is a CRM type of thing where, you give it's like the Fry's VIP thing. You give your phone number, name, or something, but you have an identifier, and now you can track. Usually you give rewards or something for every 10 times come in, but that allows you to build a database of people, and then you can see how often they come in, and you can start marketing and communicating differently. Are you doing anything to help bring like CRM solutions or a way for your clients to be able to track that way or build a database so that...
We do, as far as like on site, we actually work with, I'm sure most people have heard of ZenReach. Yeah. So they're one of our like great partners that we work with, and it's because everyone loves their free Wi-Fi. So the biggest thing is that they do newsletters. Well, it's funny when I talk to the ZenReach people, because they laugh at me and I'm like, I don't make my clients sign up for you for your crappy newsletter. And then they're like, well, sorry guys. But they know that when I talk to them. And they're like, well, why do you have them? That's what we are. We're a newsletter, blah, blah, blah. I go, well, they give you your email address or their phone number, which we make them give you. And as long as we get that once they're in the door, you guys know that we can upload that into the back end and match them and send them our ads whenever we want. We can also send them the newsletter at a 20% read open rate. So, and then we also have another great partner that we work with. And that's why I said delegating, because it's not what we do. One day, sure, I'd love to do all that in-house. But for now, we work with great partners on those things. So social media is our forte. So then we also work with a company called OpSpot. And so we're allowed to do he does all the cobblestones. He does the rewards programs. He's one of the biggest companies here in the Valley. And so with him, we take those phone numbers and we're able to set up a toggle too and blast these people, not over blast them because obviously they'll opt out, but we opt them in. So we're able to send them direct leads coming in from Facebook across social media. And then with the opt-in, we're also we only send out 1, maybe 2 a month, but we build that up so that they always have them. As long as we have their email and we can plateau that onto something that they live on, and then their other platform, which is their cell phone, we feel as in my agency that's all that we need.
Oh yeah. Yep. I mean, that CRM targeting is huge. I was just about to ask, do you guys do anything with cell phone marketing or text?
That's it. Text? Yeah, that's what we do. And it's great too, is because even when I go meet people, I have a digital business card. I don't use any paper. That's my big thing. Like my boyfriend said to me, he's like, do you have why am I asking you for a pen? Like,
that's what my wife sounds like. And it's funny because it took us forever to get cards and finally, that's me. I'm like, just look at our social media or something like that.
I have a digital business card. I take the person's phone number. I put it into my opt-in system. It sends them a message.
That's cool.
In a week, it says, hey, it was great to meet you. I feel like we have a great synergy. Why don't you check out my website? And then in 2 more weeks, it says, hey, just checking in. I thought you'd like to see what we've been up to. Here's our social media. It goes on about every 2.5, 3 weeks. And after 3 months, if we haven't connected somehow, I drop them.
Yeah.
But I also have now built up pretty much a whole entire, file of phone numbers that I've collected of everywhere, and it says who they are. It has their name, their phone number, and where I met them, so that I remember. And if I ever want to, I can personally reach out, and now they're my leads too. Hey, do you remember when I met you?
Do you get like open rates with that? I know some provide that, some don't.
It shows your opt out. How many people were like, they were nice, but I don't know who they were, or I don't remember them. Whatever their reasonings are, it'll tell us the people that opted out, and then it tells us everyone that reads and opens them. And keep most of the phone numbers you'll find versus your text, your blast. The phone numbers, they all stay because they met you, they remember you. Yeah. You're somewhat personable to them. It's an interaction. Yeah. They keep you around, and I'm not annoying, so it's kind of that exchange.
What are the open rates typically? Are they more or less than like 80%?
For the text, more. It's literally like a 96 on the text.
Yeah, it's literally like new age email marketing. It is. When that first came out, it's like open rates were 85, 90%. Marketers ruined it, started sending way more emails, people started getting blind, but now everyone has their phone, and it's same with Facebook Messenger. You're like building a bot or some type of AI to communicate. I mean, it's amazing the open rates and the communication you can do as opposed to email. I mean, email marketing is still super powerful.
It is.
I mean, it's one of the top channels with conversion rates and all that.
Huge.
But I think, there's definitely a ton of people are now jumping on, oh, wow, email marketing, and jumping on that one. It's like, no. Don't be focused on that. Focus more on this. Something that everyone has with them all the time. Going back to businesses are 5 years behind.
Yeah. My voicemail says, if I don't answer, you're going to need to text. My voicemail says that. And I talk to my son a lot, and this was kind of like a big eye-opener. He's 7. He's Gen Z. He's who, and that's who, I'm looking at for marketing. My ex-husband taught me a lot, and I'll take this with him, is that he was in life insurance. He was one of the very first people to put his life insurance card in mailers. And I remember he used to laugh and be like, oh, all these people that go door to door and knock. And he was making all this money. And he had a friend, and they're still my good friends. He was like, you need to leave with me and get into email and social media and web marketing. And he's like, and he's intelligent. He lives on the same block as Bill Gates.
Really?
So, yep. He is a multi-millionaire. And he had a company and he sold it to eFinancial.
Wow.
Yeah, so he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So he asked my ex-husband over and over and over and said, come with me. And he didn't. And now I'm watching him, obviously, because we still have kids together. So, but I'm watching him fall behind the times. And that was one of my biggest lessons that I could have taken away from that marriage was business related.
Yeah.
Is that I always want to stay ahead. So I watch my son all the time. The other day, and this is kind of funny because when you were kids and your mom was like, stop watching TV and go outside and play. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll go outside. The other day I told my son, I said, stop watching YouTube. Let's watch a movie. I kid you not.
Dang it, now I sound just like what I didn't want to sound like.
Well, but it's transformed.
Yep.
And I'm like, the electronics is too much for my son. I want him to take a break from here and be here.
Yeah.
And he goes, Mom, I don't want to. And this was his answer. There's too, and he didn't even call them commercials. He's like, there's too many ad placements. And I was like, because that's what it says on YouTube, advertisements.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap. I go, my son doesn't
Did you
even
just
want
call it a placement?
Yeah. I was like, he doesn't even want to watch TV because he associates it with too many ads. I go, TV's not your answer. That is long gone. It's going, whatever it is. I go, it's here. It's here. And that's Generation Z coming up. They live on their phones. They're the first generation that they were born on their phones. The very first ones. Yeah. They don't know any different.
And what's insane is I just sat through a meeting or a presentation last week. 2019 is the first year that social media ad spend is going to surpass traditional, and that's TV, mailers. Isn't that insane? Like, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Isn't that insane that these big companies literally spend more money on TV ads when all you do is either fast forward or go straight down to here on social media as soon as they come in.
Skipped when it records it.
Yeah. I mean, going back to, businesses are 5 years behind the time. Big corporations are like 10. I mean, it's insane that it's like... It still blows my mind when I see those numbers that even digital just surpassed traditional in terms of ad budgets. Now it's like the Facebooks, the Instagrams, all that, the CPMs and costs are going to go way up once all these, the Coca-Colas, the big companies realize that, it's the cost for a set of eyeballs on here is so much cheaper than any other channel. Brought it up a couple times the last few days, but we've worked on some mailers and it's like it costs $3 a mailer. And when you're spending $3 for each one person, when 80% chance, 90% chance they're just going to throw it away, for an extra $2, you can reach 1,000 people on Facebook.
Exactly.
Where their attention actually is. And it's so underpriced compared to the other channels, but it's amazing how much money is being dumped into these other channels.
Well, did you hear what Gary Vee said on social media ads? Did you hear that video that it's not new, but what he said he bought, Google AdWords for like, his cost was like 50 cents.
Yep.
So low. And now it's like through the roof. And he goes, your social media costs are so low right now. He goes, I can't tell you how many presentations I've sat in that I sit with these big companies and McDonald's and all these other ones. And they're like, well, we think that Facebook and social media is, disrupted and da-da-da.
Yeah.
And then he goes, wait until they catch on. He goes, because they are going to catch on. He goes, you'll wish that you have grew your brand for the cost that you could, then it will go up. They just haven't caught up yet. You're not playing with the big dogs yet. Yep. You're playing with the little guys.
Once they can, like, I'm literally getting goosebumps. Once that happens and the budget goes from TV over to social, what used to cost $8 for each 1,000 is going to cost 50. If you start looking at search, granted everyone talks about cost per click, but if you start looking at CPMs on search, you're looking at $200 CPMs. What used to be $5-6 when they were 5 cents a click. But yeah, been working hard to got our website up. We're about to launch some search ads, but yeah, we've been trying to work on process and all that while trying to get everything to market. And so come November 1, that's when we'll be launching our Facebook ads, YouTube, taking
you guys are rocking it. I found you on social. You have to be doing something right? I know. I mean, your studio, I watch you guys, you know, and I like watching your growth. I saw when you guys got these things, like, you know,
literally
just
put these up yesterday.
Yeah, like, so I watched that though. I watched that in your story. I was like, oh, like, good for them. You know, I want to support them. You know, like, everything is an investment. And you guys are doing it right, and obviously you have partners, and you've brought in the right people. You guys all have your niche.
Well, thank you.
You know, you got your studio, and you got, you know, your equipment and everything, and it's everything that you guys need to be doing to be on the right track. You're ahead. You know, you're ahead.
It's just
I think
trying.
we feel like we're behind. Someone told me this. I go, I feel like I'm behind, and he goes, that's because you watch everyone that's in your industry.
Yeah. Yep.
But the rest of the world doesn't.
Yep. And that's another hard thing to try and, because like to me it's like the whole voice thing, it's amazing like that more people aren't doing it, but trying to get the average consumer, the adoption rate up there, it's just people don't like change. And so I mean, when you tell someone to change their entire behavior from what you've known to be doing for your entire life to speaking to a device, I mean that's a big change. And for us, like, I love it. Voice is like, man, it's so nice to be able to just set my alarm really quick. And I mean, it'll eventually come, but it's like,
there's no doubt it won't come.
I mean, it's just easier. It's less friction. People want more time back in their day, and if you like, that's all it is. If you can give someone a split second more, it all adds up, and that's where the adoption comes from. But like to your point, where it's like you feel like you're behind. It's like I see some other people that have like Alexa skills, to where it's like play my podcast, and it's like, oh, we don't have that, and like, so I mean that's kind of on the to-do list. But you get so caught up in like. Yeah, and that's trying to take a step back, but it's even like, I don't know, it just comes into what is it that you want to do. I want to grow this 10, 20 years, and to do that, it's not going to be every extra dollar that comes in, I'm going to go buy a 6-pack or go out to eat or something. It's like, just reinvest everything back into here. It's like, got a gift card as a gift, and I mean, at first I was like, oh, I haven't bought anything for myself in a while, what could I get? But then I was like, you know what, we need lights and all that, and so it's like, instead of spending it on myself,
or just go eat with me.
There
you go. Free.
There you go, we can bring the video too.
Bring it. I see a trade.
I love bartering.
Yeah, so no, I mean, I totally get that, and you got to remember too is that people are watching you. You know, there's a guy that's like, I need to start my podcast. Wow, they have shelves, they have a camera, they have a setup, they have a display, like they have, you know, the what are these things called? I always forget.
What are they called?
Noise something.
Noise reduction mats.
Yeah, there you go. I thought it was a fancy word. Foam.
They're very niche.
Yeah, right? You know, but there's people looking at you going, wow, they're so ahead. That's thousands of dollars. And, you know, and you're looking at it like, oh my God, someone has, you know, this type of studio or they have this. And it's just, it's just getting those pieces and going and going. And if you don't stop and you continue, I believe we're at the baby boomer of like the podcast like era, you know, and as long as you don't quit and you keep marketing it, in like 10 years, you're going to be like, holy crap, we have like 1.2 or whatever
that's
the viewers
key, is just
are.
I think that's one thing I do well is, I see that and want to be there, but it's not getting caught up and letting it discourage me. I'm like, oh, I've been working hard for a year and a half, whatever it is, and we're not there. Yeah. But I have a sports background playing baseball, but to me it's like, okay, well, what can we do to get there faster than they got there? And like, but at the end of the day, it's don't give up, because it's even with some of the equipment and here, it's like looking back over the last year and a half, it's like, oh, I feel like we haven't grown a ton or done, but then it's like, oh wait, look at all this stuff that we have, and like the clients that we're talking to, and it's like nothing happens overnight. No. And it's just stringing together enough nights together over the course of 5 years, whatever it is, to then also look back and go, shit, this thing has grown quite a bit, and it's just one day at a time.
And even just letting it evolve to like, we weren't doing this at first, really. I mean, it was just gonna be us talking. Whereas like doing this too, it's just like more fun, like meeting more people and just exchanging ideas and learning.
Absolutely.
Instead of just me and him back and forth, where it's fun and still learning everything, but it's like it's less new ideas, less partnerships being built and everything like that. Yeah.
Be honest, you needed someone new to talk to. I just kidding.
No, this has been great. We've had a few people in where it's like you're trying really hard to get the conversation going, but like I said earlier, you're a great communicator,
that makes me feel good.
full of life, and that's.
So did I tell you, I think when we talked, I told you too what I'm kind of like invoking myself in. So I want to eventually, and I praise you guys for having a podcast, and my partner, he's on the radio and he has the gift of gab. So he can just go. And I always feel like I'll run out of something to say. That's kind of like my thing. And he goes, well, how are you going to get yourself out there? And I said, I'm going to start connecting myself with people that have podcasts, because what better way to do it than to put yourself in it and get comfortable and know whether or not I want to, because I don't want to start it and then be like, oh, this wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So if I'm liking it and I'm going on these and it's great conversation between people and we're educating, then I can be like, okay, this is something I want to do, and it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if we did something like even once a month or bi-weekly or something, and just check in and what have you been up to? What new things have you done with client? And then it's like we do more podcasts, you get more opportunity to get a feel for it. And it is a little more work than it looks to actually get it done, edit, get it out there.
Look at him, he's like, he's like, you guys just get to be on camera, I get to do all the work.
Yep. And then going back to like you said, you're doing the editing and all that. Like for a very short amount of time, like before he was full-time, I was trying to do edits and stuff like that. Learn that I hate that. I like numbers.
But now.
But now I know what time it takes to put, because at first I was like, oh, well, all these things, it should only take like an hour and a half to get it in, edit. But then after going through, okay, well, how do you storyboard it, actually make the edits, make it look clean, tell the story? It takes a lot more time, but I wouldn't have known that without diving in and trying to do it.
Knowing that you don't like it.
I am so stoked that I don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah, right? You have to do that.
Yeah.
You can't take and do projects is one of the biggest lessons that I think I've learned, is stop doing stuff that you don't like. I would find myself with a pit in my stomach knowing I hated it.
Yep.
And asking myself, why did I do it? Why did I do it? Why did I do it? The whole time. And I was like, done.
Yeah.
Just eat my way through Arizona.
No. So we'll probably start wrapping up here soon.
Yeah.
But I know you're talking to a lot of clients, and it sounds like you do more than just, here's your marketing, these are the numbers. So it's like, what I love to get at is everyone has their one thing that they wish every client would do more of, or actually do, or do differently. And it's what is the one thing that you're constantly finding yourself wishing that all your clients did, whether it's a tactic or just do more, or is there anything?
Gosh,
Good one.
I know, that's a really good one. I feel like I was put on the spot for the first time. Let me see. One thing that my clients should do more. You know what? I would say that's tough. I don't know, because it's hard for me, because I look at so many different elements than just the marketing side.
Yeah.
And I think that's my struggle with my restaurants, is I see it changing over time and adding in more things. I don't know. They honestly all are so great. When I do work with them, they really do trust me.
That's awesome.
I haven't really had a lot of issues. If I'm working with them, I haven't had, I know what I would say. Trust my people. My people. Yeah, I would say that's the biggest thing. They want me. They always want you when you sell them and when you pitch them. And I'm not a huge agency, but I do have people helping me. Yeah. So when I send someone else in there, or I have someone else working on their project, I always take it over for the first couple of weeks, because I feel like that's kind of my strong suit in life, is that I really understand people's brands and what they are, and my client and their personality, so I can coach my people how to go in there. They're this, they're not gonna like that. Make sure you do this. Bring it back to me if you have any problems. Is that they always want me. And that was one thing that I watched on a video, and I can't remember who it was. You guys might have seen it. And he goes, trust that I've coached my people, that I've done just as good of a job on them, because they're my people. So if you don't trust me, if you don't trust them, then you don't trust me. And so that's probably my biggest thing with my clients is trust my team. That I've done a good enough job, because that's the only way my agency is going to grow and be a great agency, is if I do the right training.
Exactly, because you can't do it all yourself.
No.
And you could, but that's a great way to not scale when you're out, to just kind of stay where you are.
That would be it.
That's actually great, because it's most people have like some tactic or something, but that is awesome, because that's, like I said, it seems like there's more of a, well, we hired your agency rather than, hey, let's be a partner together. And what you speak to, that is creating a partnership rather than just being a vendor that helps place ads or do this or that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and they
awesome.
all want your time. They all want your time.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I remember someone got offended one time. They were like, oh, I'd like to meet for they wanted to network and meet for coffee. And I emailed them back. I said, I'm sorry, I don't meet unless I'm closing a deal. And they were so offended. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I can't do any more coffee dates.
Yeah. I'm hyped up. Mark Cuban said that. I think it's something like the only time he shows up to a meeting is if the check's being written.
Oh,
like,
wow.
that's
Yeah.
Everything else is just
I have a digital contract, like everything. Like,
really?
Yes. I don't like bring them the contract anymore. I just change it right there and they can digitally sign it. Oh, you don't like that? Okay, well, let's change it right now.
That is awesome.
What else do you have?
That is awesome.
So, yeah. We could talk forever, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, this is great. This has been awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that I'm trying to look for is more networking type of things. Do you know of any good networking events or meetings that happen weekly, bi-weekly, either in like Scottsdale, just around here, that either you attend or that go on?
Yeah, I've signed up. I found that by going, it depends on what type of networking events. I did a lot of networking in the beginning. I realized that I stay away from the chamber ones.
Like the Chamber of Commerce?
I started going to a lot of chamber events, and I found out it was the same people over and over, and the people that you really wanted to get in touch with, the people that had companies and things like that, they send their people, and their people are just there to drink at the happy hours is what I found.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, I got real selective on the networking events that I go to. I'm part of all like a bunch of Facebook groups, Scottsdale, because those people will always post them, but I can select them.
That makes sense.
And what I found is that the people that are interested, I'll go, this is like when I geek out, I'll go through the invite list if it's a good event, like the big Gary V and Tony Robbins ones.
I know, I want to go that so bad.
Go through and see who those people are that have all been invited, because they all have like-minded mindsets. And I add them as friends because I can connect with them through social or through marketing. And it's also an introduction to the event if I want to go to it, if it means that much to me.
It's a great way to start setting up. Man, I'm going to be there. Let's chat for 5-6 minutes, something.
Right?
Yeah,
and then in my industry is the food festivals. I will go to the food festivals and talk to the vendors. That's probably one of the only networking hands-on thing, minus, I do all my marketing. If I'm pitching social for my clients, then I have to get them through social.
Yeah.
Is like
no, that makes sense.
is what I preach. But the only time that I set that apart is when I network and I go to food and beer festivals and things like that, because I get to talk to the owners because they're usually at their booth.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's
smart.
In my industry.
Yeah, that's smart.
Sounds like the best network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends. If it's morning, I gotta be like, okay, I can't have another beer. I gotta get through the 10th first.
and then grab that beer.
And then grab the beer, because I've done it the other way too many times. And then
you start forgetting the last half of the vendors.
They really help you. You do great. I love your beer.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go through. So are there any questions that you have for us? I know it's been a lot of me asking or us asking.
What's your favorite part of everything that you guys have? My thing, so you guys know what I love to do. Out of everything all your services that you guys offer, what's like your top one? Like you're like, we pitch this and then we kind of funnel everything else through.
I would say our paid media, so the Google ads, banners, Facebook, all the stuff that you put money behind, and that's how I started in this industry about 7 years ago. Worked with the local company here that is the only North American contracted company from Google, and so got to learn Google in-house, like from actual Googlers. And so after learning what it could do, once I saw the cost, my background is accounting. Went to school for that, and so it's just the crunching the numbers and seeing everything. I nerd out over that, and it's because once we can show the value of how we can communicate through the different channels, then it opens up what does the analytics look like? Then what are you doing from a creative standpoint? What are you doing to it just kind of, once you start talking through strategy, it just kind of opens up opportunity for the other services.
They kind of trust you and everything else right after they see those the numbers and all that ROI come in.
And so it's just that's the one that I've pretty much grown up on, someone I'm most confident in. Yeah. And so it's that's the.
I feel like it's kind of the cornerstone too, like he was saying, like we because I started at that company too, then that's where we met. But it was like you had the ads, so I've worked with people where it's like we have to use what they have. So it's you got the crap pictures, and you're just like we got to make it the best we can, and unless they're gonna spend money and get other stuff. Yeah. So seeing that, if we do that ourselves, then it can be so much better. And then after that, with the analytics and just being able to tie, Facebook, Google Ads, just everything together, how much more value you get with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so it's the actual content production side has been the big learning curve for me. So it's like, the creative is the variable. We can reach all these awesome people and all these different channels, but it's really, what are you saying to them to grab their attention, get them to the site and actually purchase? And so as I've learned more of what it takes to create the content, the editing and all of that, finally at a point to where comfortable to start pitching it. And that's been the biggest process, is learning the process of all the other services for the most part. And like I know how to do them and execute on them working in other agencies, but it's been the costing it out, knowing how much time it takes,
costing it out.
That's been the biggest. And finally it's like there's a lot of projects that lost money on, but it's an education. Right. Didn't lose money because I learned that, oh wow, it actually takes 10 hours longer than I thought. Yeah. Okay. So now we learn the next time. Yeah, and then it's going back to it's tough to get content from people. Okay, well how do we change our process so that we get that beforehand before we start? And it's the learning the business side of things that has been the biggest learning curve. And now
that's the hardest.
Yeah, and now that I feel like we've kind of done more projects, getting closer to it. Now it's like, okay, we're good to where it. Yeah. And now that I feel confident that we can actually price things out and have our process down to where it's not like, oh well, didn't take into account that or anything like that. Like we have everything set. Now it's like, now is whenever the advertising is going to come, and that's why I want to try and find networking events. It's been a lot of how can we make our process quicker, better, learn the what we need to do to provide quality service. Now that I feel we're at that point, now it's like, cool, let's get out there to the world.
You also feel confident when you ask for that number. Yeah. Too, that's the biggest thing, I think, when in the beginning too, is that you were like, they're like, okay, well, how much is this going to cost us? And since you have so many like different things, you're like, well, $775, is that gonna work? It was weird, and now I'm just like da 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 da.
It's funny that you say that, because the number that you say, or once you get to that point, I can tell just in my tone and confidence that every time it's getting better and better, right? Because I fully understand what all goes into everything, and I'm more confident because it's not just, I think it might cost this much, and then realize, like, you know what I mean? It's just, what it takes to get there, and plus the value you bring. Yep. And that's been another thing that I've been, something that takes a long time to work on, trying to work on, is just the pricing thing and bringing value. It's like.
And then the best part is when you say that number and they go, well, I'm sorry, my budget is only X amount. And then you look at them and you go, well, that will work too. We're just going to have to take some things out. Yeah. Before I was like, okay, can I get this done? How can I get this done? I need to get this done. It's, and you do those things, and that's normal. You do those sacrifices in the beginning for your business. And now it's like, well, I'm sorry, I have to take stuff out. Yeah. And now I figured out, and I'm like, well, if you don't do this, you can charge per day. Yeah. But you're going to lose money. Yeah. Yep.
No, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Is when you take stuff out. And my partner, because he's on radio the other day, he signed a pretty big deal, and they dropped the price completely. And with radio, with him, it's a little bit different. And I was like, okay, so did you take stuff out? He was like, well, kind of, like, it's radio, like, and I'm like, I'm like, mine is like in the like work and like in the like weeds with that stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't get 30 posts and you don't get unlimited ads.
Yep, that's another one is usually you struggle with you don't get enough creative. Worked with someone that is just like, here are new ads every single day. And it's like, whoa, okay, well, now I need to write in the SOW or some type of, you have a maximum number, anything above that is excellent. Yeah, it's the learning the business side has been the biggest thing, and finally getting through that, it's the confidence comes, and then it's just, things just get easier.
They do.
Just keep doing it every day, and eventually it's easier.
And then, like, my stuff that I don't do, like your Google stuff, and I'm like, we have a partner we work with. I can't tell you, but I can connect you.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy.
Yeah.
You know, I always say that to them. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I don't have to talk about numbers. My pitch is the first pitch, and as long as that goes through, I don't care what you spend after that. So, yeah. But, yeah, it's been great. I appreciate everything.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you coming in. Before you take off, would love to give everyone an opportunity to see where they can connect with you on social media. So what are the different social media channels, handles, and your website?
So right now I'm pushing everything towards my Instagram. So you can find me at Melissa, and Melissa Anaya was just taken. So, and I didn't think it would be, so I've changed it. So Melissa_Anaya, ANAYA _AZ. It also says AZ Restaurant Marketer underneath. And then, but my agency, Jamm7, JAMM, because one M was taken.
Jamm7 was taken?
Well, no, one M. We just wanted Jamm, JAMM.
Gotcha.
And that belongs, actually, crazy enough, to an amazing marketing company in Canada.
Really?
Yeah. I found them and I was like, holy crap, I hope no one thinks that that's me, because there's like a flock of like 20 of them all in hardcore black suits. I got to show you this.
Wow.
Hardcore black suit sitting on this amazing like 3-step tier, like I don't even know, like Ramada thingy, and it's like marketing and it's like Jamm, and I was like, how is that even possible that they're even the same name as me? So that is not me.
See, we're dealing with it on the opposite end. It's crazy that actually, like, so the name started Every Impression Counts, and then it took forever to type out and everything. So made the name change to just the acronym, so now it's just EIC agency.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is that was actually taken. There's a couple different agencies. There's one in Texas and then one in New York that have EIC agency. And so, but the opposite problem is that whenever you type in EIC agency, the organic listing in New York comes up that only has 1 out of 5 stars. Everything is horrible reviews. So you better believe we'll be bidding on our brand name here pretty soon. And the first thing we're doing from an SEO standpoint is figuring out how we can show up above them so that when people look for us, who are these guys?
That's it's always that way.
Yeah.
So JAMM7.com, and then I've already purchased and bought Eat Drink AZ. So that is coming. It was actually available. So
that is crazy.
Eat Drink AZ. So I own the domain, the IG, the Facebook, everything, all mine.
Just think 10 years ahead by all the different states.